Grizzly Man, a documentary from
Mm.
2005. This is directed by Werner Herzog, starring Timothy Treadwell, or the subject is Timothy Treadwell. The IMDb plot summary: a devastating and heart-rendering take on grizzly bear activists Timothy Treadwell and Annie Hoodengard, who were killed in October of 2003 while living amongst grizzly bears in Alaska. So this movie
Hmm.
is a story of Timothy Treadwell, who was a real guy who did, like as his plot summary describes, go up to Alaska for, I think, 13 years, and every summer live amongst the bears in ways that were illegal, actually. Like he wasn't supposed to be in
Hmm.
these protected worlds or these protected lands, and basically was trying to become a bear, or he wanted to protect the bears, but he would get up close and be petting them, giving them names. They come up to him, and this was all documented. So he would shoot camera footage of this. And unfortunately, he was killed by the bears at one point. And this is Werner
Right.
Herzog's combination of, talking heads with people that knew Timothy, but then also his footage, which is some of the most
Hmm.
amazing wildlife footage you will ever see, because it was essentially shot, illegally. You're not supposed to get this close to
Right.
animals, but he's like petting foxes on the head. It's amazing. But for me, the reason why, I just want to give some context to listeners who might not have heard this film. But for me, really, what this does is really does underline the point that while a lot of people, Timothy being included, idealizes the outdoors and thinks it's this place of magic, wonder, and harmony, a lot like what we were just talking about. Yes, there is a
Right.
side to that, but there's a savagery too. And if you forget about that, you you could pay the ultimate price, much like he did, and was killed by the bears who he thought were his friends, but they're animals at the end of the day, and they're not
Hmm.
humans. So this is a good stark reminder of that. So had you said you seen this film before? What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I hadn't seen it, hadn't heard of it either, but I was just kind of blown away by,
It's one of my favorite documentaries of all time. Yeah, it's
yeah, the movie itself, but then also just like humans as, we've been talking through the entire podcast of like how far would we go,
right,
in
right.
terms of our curiosity, and I was using the word kindness a lot in the previous movie for Life of Pi. This person is not, Timothy's not approaching, the way Richard Attenborough's character is approaching
Mm-hmm.
outdoors
Mm-hmm.
in Jurassic Park, to kind of tame it in a way, or create something, or control it, and then ultimately sort of exploit it and make money off of it. No, like Timothy is approaching it with kindness,
Yeah, he
and
calls
he
himself a
genuinely,
kind warrior,
yeah,
and throughout the beginning, I'm the kind warrior of the
yeah,
Yukon. Yeah.
and he wants to be out there and be their friends, but the movie does such a good job of kind of, once again, letting you decide how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
There are points where you feel this person is deranged
Mm-hmm.
or totally crazy, out of mind. There are times when you're sort of in awe of his almost heroism, that
Mm-hmm.
somebody will actually put himself out there. In other moments, you're admiring the kindness and tenderness he has for these animals and nature around him. And then at times you're like, you need to get out of there. What are you doing there?
Right, right.
And at times you also question, is this even coming from a good place?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
isn't it selfish actually that
Mm-hmm.
you're encroaching and you're kind of plastering this whole thing as an act of, oh, I'm their friend. They never asked you there. Friendship
Right.
is a two-way street.
Exactly.
You're just there,
Right,
and you just imagine that they're your friends. They didn't give you any such indication whatsoever.
right,
So
right,
maybe what happened is what you deserved it. So
right,
it's
right,
such a
right.
varying kind of kaleidoscope of emotions that you go through watching this movie.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just a masterful, again, documentary, because there are so many mixed feelings. Another theme I think
Yeah.
that this movie touches on too is how people can use the outdoors not only to idealize it, but as a sense of escape from who they are. I mean, this guy was very troubled, clearly, like it was an
Hmm.
alcoholic, drug addict, a failed actor. So he hated, in a sense, like the human world. And there were scenes where he's just kind of yelling at the camera, complaining about the park service and how the
Hmm.
humans don't care. And I am, the better than everyone else because actually care about these animals and all these things. And he is very troubled guy. And this was his therapy, but was it a healthy therapy? No, I would say definitely not. Like he needed
Real
to
help.
get he needed real help, and this was not helping him.
No.
Even though he took on this air of like, hey, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm very poor. I'm going teaching for free in the classes with the kids, and he was very popular with kids, showing them all these bears. But yeah, it's still not right at the end of the day. And, he does pay the ultimate price. There's even a line in the film where they're interviewing a local Inuit. who worked at this bear center. And he's like, look, like our culture's been here for 7,000 years. And there's a very clear boundary between animals and humans, and that we know never to cross it. And he did. And, it's out of respect they don't cross that. It's not because they look down on the animals or feel that humans are better than the animals. There is a separation. And once you get too close to that line, it becomes dangerous. And when you step across it, you can end up dead. And unfortunately, he was there with his girlfriend too. And that's the most heartbreaking thing about this movie to me, is that she died as well, who was just there because she loved him and was supporting him, even though she didn't like the bears. She was scared of doing this. And that she's really the most innocent victim out of all of this. Not to say that he deserved it, but he was putting himself out there. He knew the risk and he was willing to die. He would say multiple times to his friends, like, yeah, if I die, this is how I want to die. And don't mourn me. But not really the case. And you definitely feel for, or at least I really did feel for her.
Yeah, I felt for her. But then also the other people who are like mourning his loss, like the other two women in the final scene.
Mm-hmm.
Even that's a complicated scene in my mind. Like, like
when they're throwing his ashes out.
Yeah,
on the
I'm
bear
like,
sanctuary.
should I be sad about this? I don't think so. Are you two even sad about this, or are you pretending to be because now you're on camera? Or, it sort of exposes so many layers of human emotion and, selfishness and greed and all of that stuff, right? Like, so this movie is very layered, I think.
I mean, I've seen this several. I was one of my friends saw this at the time. I was like, you have to see this movie. So I got it on Netflix DVD back when that existed and rented it. I was immediately like captivated, disgusted, but also drawn into this guy. I mean, he's such a character, but the footage he gets is just unreal, like of the nature footage. But yeah, it's very complicated. I mean, I've seen this film probably like 4 or 5 times since seeing it originally back in like 2007, and just still blown away by it every time of just how it really gets at this very nuanced situation. I think what Herzog does so well, other than has one of the most amazing voices ever, so his narration like is like, a knife through butter in like the best way. But the way that he shoots this, where he'll have a scene where he's clearly telling the person, okay, you're here, you have to sign the papers, or look, show me his morgue report and talk about it and we'll film it. And then when the person's done doing that, he leaves the camera on for like 20 or 30 more seconds. And the person is sort of like, okay, I'm done acting, quote unquote.
Right.
And then he captures a real emotion.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy like that's really reality. It's like, so I don't know if he probably did this on purpose, makes a very rehearsed scene, but then ends it and lets the person just then talk and express what they really think or feel, or they start emoting. Like in one scene, one of his best friends, like she just starts crying. And that's the most powerful pieces of the film to me. And then, I mean, he was filming, and there was actually, the camera was on when he was killed. So there is audio of him getting killed by the bear, him and his girlfriend. And there's a scene in the movie, which is one of the most powerful scenes I've seen in any movie, fiction or nonfiction, honestly, where Herzog is listening to him get killed in front of his old girlfriend and current friend, and just takes off the headphones. He's like, you should never listen to this. Destroy this tape. This will be the white elephant in your room your entire life. And it's chilling I just can't, that scene just always stays with me of the way that he says it in such a matter-of-fact manner, and just her just there, just starting to cry. And it's a devastating lesson, again, of like that boundary that you do not cross, that it's not out of disrespect, it's out of respect. And I think that's the piece that he didn't really, to your point, wasn't really their friends.
He's using them in a way, you could argue, to escape from his own demons. And sort of, forcefully including the animals and nature and outdoors, making them his accomplice.
Yes.
They don't want to be.
Exactly. None of them asked for this. And then, he dies.
Yeah.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.